Hi, I'm Dave, owner of Future Past Vintage Collectibles, here with my daughter Rachel.
Hello.
As we are every week talking about comic content. Tell the people what we do.
Well, we're comic dealers, and our biggest thing that we do is over on Instagram. So after you subscribe here, go follow us over there because we do claim sales every Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time where we feature high-grade books, and every Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time where we do $5 Show Me the Bargain books.
And every week we have special little sales, like we have a couple going right now. So we have random books that we sell. Instagram's the place we do it. Check us out. We also buy collections.
Yes.
We buy comics. If you're even thinking about selling your collection, think about us.
Boom.
We're going to get into the topic. Today we're going to talk about comic books that are worth a lot more than they seem to be worth on the surface. We got almost all of the books I'm talking about today by mistake. I mean, we didn't know they were there.
Accident.
Yeah, no one told us they were there. Here's what happens when you buy thousands and thousands and thousands of comic books and you look inside of every one, you have a chance of finding what we're talking about today. So when we look at it, we don't script this. When you look at a comic book, give me the process for what you're looking for when you pull it out of the bag.
I mean, if I'm grading, I typically am grading it. So I look at the spine and I look at the corners. And then if it's a newsstand, I'll open it. But I will say, like, if it's a Mark Jewelers, I can feel it.
I open every book.
I don't. I mean, I do, but like, I don't.
I'm always
look
looking
at every page.
I look for double cover. Hello? You don't look for double cover?
I don't.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll catch
But
those.
I found them.
Yeah, I'm always looking. I found one last week, and I'm here to tell you of all the things that are rare to find, double covers are the most rare. As a collector, I can tell you that. As a dealer, I can tell you that. I find them much less than I find anything else.
They're exciting because when I graded Golden Age Guru's books, I found one, and that was really exciting.
Yeah, and if you still have a picture of it.
I do. I think I do. It was a Superman, a really old one, Golden Age.
And that surprised me.
And I screamed. I said, "Dad!" I was very excited.
Yeah, so
it wasn't our book though, so it was hard.
Double covers. I mean, if your goal is to go to a show, go through boxes and find a double cover, it's just not going to happen.
No.
However, if your goal is to go to a show and find one of these, it might happen, and it might happen in a discount box. It could happen anywhere. One of the reasons these aren't found often is that people aren't opening the bags, taking the book out and looking.
And by these, we're talking about Mark Jewelers.
Yes.
If we weren't clear.
Mark Jewelers was a jewelry store, and they really focused on people in the United States Armed Services. So what they did is they put inserts inside of comic books that were specifically designated to be sold in PXs at bases across the world. So you could have bought one at a base in Kentucky, you could have bought one in a base in Germany. And my brother was in the service at the time, and he ended up with like 170 of them, because those are the books he bought when he was on base.
Yeah.
So for 6 months before that, there was actually another company that had an insert, and their name, I think, was Diamond Distribution.
National Diamond Distribution.
Yeah,
we've shown one of those before.
So now, no one really talks about those. I think they're great. I mean,
they're even more rare.
Yeah, they're only there for 6 months, and put the word in the street. Those are sick. So in 1970, early 72, late 71, I had a book that had one, and they had they had jobs on them. Become a security guard, become a nurse, like things to do when you get out of the service. So they were targeting other things. Then you open up the centerfold, and it would talk about diamonds. Buy your girl a diamond while you're in the military because you miss her, and marry her. So these inserts are very different. Some are different colors. They're red, they're blue, they're green. Some have a lick and stick where you can, like, there's an envelope inside, and you tear it out and you lick it and you send it. And some are just cardboard. The lick and stick can be a challenge if you press comics, because if you get any moisture in that, it's going to stick to whatever you're putting against. Some people tore them out. Also, books that were on the bases that were square bound or that couldn't be manufactured with a Mark Jewelers insert, they stamped a star on them. So you can see once in a while on the left corner of a comic, there'll be
any of the ones that we have it,
because they all have the insert.
Mm-hmm. We have shown some with the star though.
Yeah, they'll have a star. Does that make a book more valuable? No, it's pretty cool. I mean, it doesn't bother me. Yeah, it doesn't bother me. It has a star. So they're typically not in high grade. There are high grade Mark Jewelers out there. But they are often the rarest example of a book besides something like a double cover. Before there were variants, before like there's 5 covers for this book.
It was the OG variant.
It was the OG. and let me tell you, Rachel, I could care less about Mark Jewelers when I was coming up. We didn't think twice about it. If you got one, it was actually an annoyance because it made the book keep falling open,
They really wanted to make sure you knew about the jewelry options.
We never thought that this could be something that collectors go after. When I left the hobby in 2003, Mark Jewelers weren't a big thing then.
They kind of ended too, like in the 80s, right? So they weren't making new ones.
They went all the way up. I think we have a couple of examples
today
that leak into the 90s.
That are like dollar covers that have
88
jewelers in them. But they ended in that time, so it makes sense that you weren't buying, because you were buying new books.
Yeah, so when I came back, I saw what had happened to him, and we're going to talk about Mark Jewelers today. And as always, we're going to talk about books we have. So
we've been holding on to them as we find them.
We've decided we're going to sell all these in one sale.
Yeah, we're going to have a Mark Jewelers and like one-off signature sale sometime soon over on Instagram.
Yeah.
But so you might see these again.
And that's another, we found so many signature books. We haven't even tapped into what I have in the back stock. But I literally have hundreds of them of all different kinds. Signed inside, signed out on the cover.
We have one we're going to show today.
Yeah.
So,
just one that just popped up in a collection and I wasn't expecting it. So almost every book here, I did not expect it. It was through, looking for those things. What am I looking for?
It was very exciting.
Before I do anything, when I pull a book out of the bag, does it have a double cover? Is it Mark Jewelers?
I definitely, when we got this specific collection, we found one Mark Jewelers, and so we had to open up every single book in the collections because we were very excited.
There was 2,000 books in a low-grade collection, and I think we found 50 Mark Jewelers in it. Yeah.
Of like the most random issues. Which
somebody who was in the military. Yeah. Which makes all the sense in the world. Yeah.
So we have a stack of keys and then we have some other ones that are just like, this is random and it's Mark Jewelers. But we'll start off with this one. It's Fantastic Four 156 with Dr. Doom and Silver Surfer. It's a pretty low grade copy, but we did get some data points to kind of figure out like, okay, how much would this be worth today if we were to sell it? So there's only one on GPA, like in the data information that says there is a Mark Jewelers insert that was traded, and it was an 8.0 and it sold for $170 in 2022. There is no census data on Mark Jewelers. A lot of times the census will separate Mark Jewelers so you can see how many are slabbed, but it does not say how many are slabbed. A regular 8.0 without a Mark Jewelers sold for $55 in the same year. So over $120 more was what the Mark Jewelers sold for.
3.5 times. That's significant. In this book, sick cover, this is a really low-grade copy. Mm-hmm. Still, I think someone would be interested in having this in Mark Jewelers because there's a little panache to that how many were on the census? One? You saw one copy traded?
With a Mark Jewelers insert, yeah.
That's why. It's like, yeah, but do you have a Mark Jewelers?
It doesn't matter what grade it is.
And I hate to break the news to you, there's a little bit of ego tied up in collecting comic books. And I don't care who you're talking to. Yeah, I don't care who you're talking to. They're going to pull something out like, yeah, but this is the 1 in 500, blah, blah, blah. Anyway,
This next one is G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, number 74. We actually have a bunch of G.I. Joes that were Mark Jewelers. And this one's the first stop of Muskrat. There is no GPA data on Mark Jewelers being traded, and there's no census data on how many Mark Jewelers are out there.
Super late.
Yeah, this is $1 cover price.
Yeah, this is really late.
So like 80s. The most recent sale of this book was a 9.8 newsstand for $90. It's just a newsstand, not a Mark Jewelers.
And this is higher grade.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. It's a nice copy. My favorite thing is to see what color the Mark Jewelers is.
Now, I wanted to show you too, this is a lick and stick. So right here is a lick and stick adhesive that you would lick that, fold it over, and then it's perforated here. These are really glossy and they're not cardstock compared to the cardstock ones from the earlier era.
Okay, this next few are Firestorm, Fury of Firestorm. This one's number 21. Death of the first Killer Frost and the first appearance of Louis Lincoln, who becomes the second Killer Frost. There is no GPA data on Mark Jewelers for this and no census data for them at all.
All Mark Jewelers are newsstands. And in the world of collecting, you noticed, I'm sure, that if you've been around for a minute, in this era, bronze and copper, people are really focused on newsstands. Mark Jewelers are more rare than newsstands. So in any situation that you're in, if you're looking at newsstands and you're attracted to that, Mark Jewelers are the next step. And the only thing other than that's a double cover.
Yeah.
You can have pence variants, Canadian price variants. There are other things, but these are, I think, is that also a lick and stick or is it it's a soft?
Thinner. Yeah, it's another lick and stick.
Yeah.
A blue one again.
Would you like a fine channel set for your soon-to-be fiance?
I like the pink one. That's my favorite color mark jeweler that I've ever found.
I like the black ones.
We have 2 of these. This is number 22, which is the origin of Firestorm. Again, no GPA data on these ever trading, and no census data.
Yeah.
I don't know when they decided to separate the mark jewelers in the census and when they didn't.
That's a great question, because I told you that when CGC opened and I was doing business with them in 2000, they didn't mark that then.
Yeah.
And it's been since then. And they just started putting newsstand on books. It says newsstand on the label in the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm. A lot of these do have newsstand data, and it's hard to say whether or not like GPA is saying, like, they do separate mark jewelers and newsstand, but maybe some of them are mark jeweler sales. I don't know.
And we can talk about that a little bit. If you're trying to evaluate one, look at what the newsstand is. If it's a key, it's going to be multiples. If it's a non-key, it could be 50% more.
Yeah, this will be a good example because I have some data written down for this one. So this is Hulk 290, Mark Jewelers' first and only appearance of Kate Waynesboro as female version of MODOK. MODOK. There's no census data. A 9.8 direct sold for $71, and a 9.0 newsstand sold for $50.
So 50% more. In that case,
and there's no Mark Jewelers data.
Yeah. So what would a Mark Jewelers get? Let's look first of all.
It's another blue one.
So because it's a late era, 60 center. This is actually high grade. Yeah. So these are nice. These are really sought after. People love finding them. These are a little trickier because on the earlier ones, they're cardstock, and you can almost feel it when you pick it up.
Yeah, because it's thicker.
It's got a rigidity to it.
And you can kind of see it in the top. Dad says you can't, but I can.
Well, my eyes are no good.
I can see it.
I need to wear spectacles and have the right light. But anyway, this is great. And actually, I think someone would be a lot more attracted to it because it's a Mark Jewelers, where they might not be attracted to it at all. Because it could be one of a kind.
So here's a cool duo. Daredevil 257 with Punisher, and Punisher number 10 with Daredevil. Our homies. Both Mark Jewelers.
Yeah.
Which is pretty exciting.
So they're desirable newsstand. These are later in newsstands. Newsstand by itself. Both of these are popular. By the way, I bought this. I paid $20 for this book within a couple months of coming out because my local comic store ran out of these. And this book was popular. And it wasn't a 9.8. And it always made me mad. To this day, I remember the feeling I had, because there was some kind of stain right here. And it was just very, very, very light. I hated that book. I'll pull it out and look at See, these late ones are really cool because, once again, they're very soft. It's going to have a lick and stick in it. It's the purple one again.
Purple.
He's great.
Yeah, so this one didn't have any GPA data and no census data.
Yeah.
On Mark Jewelers.
Both of these could stand a clean and press, and I think they both be high grade.
This one actually did have Mark Jewelers data on
it
GPA.
Did?
An 8.0 sold in 2022 for $82.
An 8.0.
An 8.0. And that was in 2022, so I don't know.
Well, compared to what this book would normally go for an 8.0, which is just not collectible in 8.0 because it's so modern. It's hard to say through a bag, but yeah, these are nice. This is a popular cover that we both looked at and we've probably owned 30 of these.
We have.
First one we've had this Mark Jewelers.
Okay, so this is Marvel Team Up 117. Mark Jewelers, first app with Professor Power.
A lot of this is improvable, but
there's a lot of wrinkles on it. But there's 564 graded copies of this. There's no Mark Jeweler data on the census. Just for some data points to kind of get an idea of what you think a Mark Jewelers would get. A 9.8 regular direct copy sold for $80 in January of 2024, and a newsstand sold for $180 in January of 2024.
So if it was a 9.8 Mark Jewelers, how would it compare to newsstand? It could be $500. I mean,
it's much higher. So it would be higher. The number would go up for
sure.
You
don't hear people talk about that a lot. How many Mark Jewelers are there? It's just kind of hard to nail down because, I don't know, they're kind of tucked in low grade. People read them to death. As you see in the ones we're finding, rarely you'll find one. All of my brothers are in high grade because he took really good care of his books.
Yeah.
But rarely do you find them in high grade. And when they do hit the market, they're really valuable. Because they're really rare. And once again, that panache, that bragging right, people love that. What else we got? This one's really cool. I wish it was a little bit higher grade, but...
Yeah, this is Spectacular Spider-Man 90, the early appearance of the black costume, and it is also, obviously, at Mark Jewelers. There are 1,925 total graded copies. No information on how many Mark Jewelers there are.
It doesn't say anything. Not any of them are Mark Jewelers?
It does not say. There's no GPA data of it trading as a Mark Jewelers.
Oh, this has an interesting thing going on with this book I want to talk about.
Okay.
See this, guys? It's called a tag. And it can be folded in a line.
Yeah, you can see
It
it.
can be folded and aligned with the book. Sometimes I've seen these, they're huge. Like when you unfold them, they're sticking out like that.
It's like the cutter didn't cut it off right.
Right. And what they do at the factory is they just fold it in. Yeah, this is a nice book. I mean...
Nicer than we thought.
Yeah, I'm really surprised. There's not one of these that's traded in Mark Jewelers.
So a 9.8 direct copy of this sold for $190 in January of 2024. And a newsstand sold for $835 in November.
Sick.
So
What's the Mark Jewelers going to be?
Mark Jewelers
So let's say this is an 8.5 Mark Jewelers. That'll be the question for the show. 8.5 Mark Jewelers, Spectacular Spider-Man 90. What do you think that would go for if it was slabbed?
8.5?
An 8.5.
Why not a 9.8? Because we have the 9.8 data.
Because this is not going to be a 9.8.
No, that won't be a 9.8.
This is a real thing.
This is about reality.
This is a real thing. It's actually right there. Okay. So I was just going through a collection I bought and I found this. And this was Mark Jewelers. And I was kind of happy because it's really high grade. It's XMen 126. And I mean, it's really nice. And I didn't even get into the grading. As soon as I saw it was Mark Jewelers, I just put it away. Boom. It's a lick and stick too.
Ooh, it's purple.
But the book's in really nice shape. So
Right.
it needs to be pressed. And the thing about that is you just can't wet press it. You have to dry press it.
So this is a Proteus and Mastermind appearance. No Mark Jewelers data
So what would a
in GPA and
what was a
no Mark
9.2?
Jewelers data in this.
what does a 9.2 of this go for?
A 9.2 sold in December of 2023 for $90. A 9.2 newsstand sold for $85.
I would say that this is a $200 to $300 book in Mark Jewelers. And what do you think about that?
Let us know.
Chime in.
This is Uncanny X-Men 134. This is the first, or Jean Grey becomes the Dark Phoenix, is the key significance to this book. There is Mark Jewelers data on this book, but it's for 4.5. So a 4.5 Mark Jewelers exists out there, and it's slabbed. It sold for $80 in 2021. A 4.5, which is pretty crazy. A newsstand sold for $35 in 2022, and a regular issue sold for $48 in 2019.
There's a really interesting mark on it.
Yeah, there's a little scribble on the front.
It's part of a famous pedigree. Oh, it's got somebody used this as an ink blot. So what'd that 4.5 go for again? I didn't grade this. It is what it is. I have some 4.5 information on my own.
I mean, even a 4.5 Mark Jewelers sold for $80. That was in 2021.
I'm going to retire.
Okay, these last two books are not Mark Jewelers, but they're cool.
Well, I've done this one recently. I found this in the same collection and it was signed on the interior. Why don't you talk about this signature, who signed it, and the research you did about how much the signature would be worth if it was on the cover.
So this is Thor 337, the first appearance of Beta Ray Bill, and the art is by Walt Simonson, and it's signed on the inside cover by Walt Simonson. We did a little bit of research to try and figure out how much his signature is worth, and I got a lot of data points. So there's his signature. It looks just like the cover, where he signed the cover.
Excellent signature. 10 out of 10.
So I got all this information based off of 9.4. A 9.4, a regular 9.4, sold in January of 2024 for $105. And his signature sold for $250 in a 9.4 in 2022.
So we assume that if it was on the cover and it was a good signature, that it'd be worth between $125, $150, right?
Yeah, added on top of whatever the slab cost is,
and
book cost.
And we were discussing it, and Rachel said, well, does it matter that it's on the inside? Yes.
Yeah, because you don't see it if it's slabbed or whatever.
Correct. And I know a little bit about signatures just from knowing about antiques, knowing about that part of antiques. The thing about signature collectors is they like to display them. So if you can't display them, especially why would you slab it if you can never look at it? It's probably worth a little bit less. It's more for the collector, I think, more for the person, because going into the 2000s, people did not have covers signed. They did, but it was much more rare than having the inside, like this was signed or the splash page signed, because people did not want to mess with art. And this was even before, like, they put UPC codes and stuff. I mean, people never wanted to put anything on the covers, so it's changed a little bit. If you are trying to figure out how much a signature increases the value of a book, you can just compare the price of the sold copies of that book in signature series compared to non-signature series, taking into account, was it a newsstand? And there's a little bit more to it. You have to make sure that they're both equal copies, right? One might be a newsstand, one might not. One might have off-white pages, one might have white. So 2 like copies and compare them and see what the price difference was. And then you can go look at a few different grades, and then you kind of start nailing it in. Is it $50 more? Is it $100 more? People who collect signatures, they know. So if you have a friend that does, they know all kinds of stuff about what value a signature brings to a book. And this one I just found in the last couple days.
Oh, yeah. So this is Spider-Woman number 43. Here she is. And this is a double cover.
Yeah.
Hooray. There are 35 graded copies of this book in newsstand. This is also a newsstand, I should mention. A 9/8 sold for $46 in May of 2023, and that's just direct. No data on newsstand sales or double cover sales.
It's not a key.
Not a key. It's just your run-of-the-mill Spider-Woman.
This is just for a Spider-Woman collector. This is just for, and the thing about this book is it's super high grade. And I was admiring it. I'm selling one Spider-Woman's right now. I was going through the 5th run of these, where I've picked up these really nice runs. I was doing what I always do. And when I open it up, I'm going to bend it so I don't damage the book.
Double.
It's a double.
And if you're asking, how do you grade something like that? Go based off of the inner.
How do you grade it? How do you price it? You know, it really has to do with the market. I mean, the best way on every one of the things we talked about today to figure out what the price is to be an auction. And not just a small auction, a large auction. And then if you can watch auctions over and over again, you start getting a feeling for the popularity of a book. And it can change from auction to auction. Sometimes you can think, I don't know, this book should be double. And then someone takes it and brings it to auction and gets 10x on it. Because a one-of-a-kind example of that book, which it might not be a one-of-a-kind, but in the current time it is, because there's no other copies. Let's say you have a book, there's 2,000 graded copies, and you have the only Mark Jewelers, it could get a massive amount more. So Mark Jewelers are something you can find. Every one of you watching this, if you just look through old bins and actually look inside the books, you might get one. Now that's an exhausting exercise. And you might end up looking in books that no one cares about. Hey, I found a Mark Jewelers insert inside Superman 682. I mean, people might not care. I don't know. But
I mean, we definitely have some really weird one-offs in the rest of our box of Mark Jewelers that we're going to sell.
Oh, I have more. So yeah, just so you know.
Yeah, we have tons. GI Combat, that's really low grade.
Yeah, these are all Mark Jeweler insert
really
books.
Cool GI Joes. A lot of GI Joes. These are late era.
These are the only ones I bought knowing that they were Mark Jeweler inserts. I bought an entire run of Green Lantern, and he told me I think he had 9 or 10. So I was happy to get those. And last but not least, I got some Weird War Tales. I also got some Pence copies of these in a lot that I bought. So I'll be selling all this stuff. Looking forward to it. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Just a quick chat about Mark Jeweler inserts, something that can bring value to books, bring a rarity, a bit of panache, something to brag about, something to tell your friends they don't have. But that's all we have today.
Just bragging about it.
You should brag about it.
Don't forget to subscribe to the
Somebody
channel.
will hate on you, by the way, at some point. You'll say, hey, man, I got that in Mark Jewelers. And someone's going to say, I don't care.
But yeah, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And also follow us over on Instagram where we do our claim sales every Friday and Monday. And that's it.
Our legendary claim sales.
Legendary.
Okay, thanks,
bye.
guys. Bye. Let's talk about what Mark Jewelers is. So, 1973, huh?
I don't know.
You were the expert 6 months ago.
About Mark Jewelers?
Yeah, remember? You used
No.
from this year to this year, Mark Jewelers.
Oh, if I looked it up that one day.
What year it is?
Mark Jewelers. 1972.
72, okay.
Thanks, Google. And my comic shop.
You should put that in as a gag reel at the end, though. What year?
Okay.
I don't know.
I have no idea off the top of my noggin. All right.